Every man has felt it. The moment when a connection with a woman feels strong, but you wonder if she truly values you. Modern dating is full of uncertainty, and many men waste time giving too much attention, too much effort, and too much patience without ever inspiring the respect and desire they deserve. Women are drawn to men who carry themselves with confidence, who maintain their value, and who are not afraid to create emotional stakes in the relationship. One of the most powerful ways to secure a woman's interest is to trigger her fear of losing you. This isn't about manipulation or games. It's about showing strength, consistency, and self-respect in a way that naturally makes her recognize your value. When a man triggers this fear correctly, a woman stops taking him for granted. She becomes more present, more attentive, and more emotionally invested. She begins to see you as someone worth fighting for, not someone to simply drift in and out of her life. The goal is not to control her, but to create a dynamic where she feels compelled to prioritize you because you are not endlessly available. You maintain boundaries, and you carry an undeniable sense of confidence. This video breaks down 7 practical ways to create this effect. Each method teaches you how to naturally elevate your value in her eyes while protecting your dignity. These are strategies any man can use in modern dating to inspire desire, attention, and emotional investment, without compromising who he is. Once you understand them, you will see the difference in the way she responds, engages, and ultimately fears losing the man she cannot afford to ignore. 1. Maintain your distance. Maintaining distance is one of the most effective ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you. When you are constantly available, always responding immediately, and never giving her room to breathe, she begins to take you for granted. A man who is always there loses his edge. She begins to assume that your presence is guaranteed, and guaranteed things lose value in her eyes. By creating space in your availability, you make her feel your absence and, in turn, spark a sense of urgency and attention. This does not mean ignoring her completely or playing childish games. It means balancing your life in a way that she sees you have priorities, commitments, and boundaries that she cannot dictate. When you spend time on your goals, friendships, hobbies, and personal growth without making her the center of every day, you become more attractive because women are wired to value what they cannot always possess easily. Distance also forces her to reflect on your presence. She begins to notice the small things about you she may have overlooked when you were always around. She starts comparing moments without you to the moments with you and realizes the level of emotional support, confidence, and stability you bring into her life. Men often fear creating space because they think women will lose interest if they are not constantly attentive. The truth is the opposite. Women are more likely to feel fear when they sense they could lose a man who consistently demonstrates his own value while remaining unattainable at times. Distance works because it gives her the mental space to evaluate what she truly feels. It triggers her desire to invest more because she begins to fear losing the emotional security, attention, and authenticity that you provide. The key is to balance this distance with genuine engagement when you are present. You remain consistent, reliable, and confident, but you are not a man who can be summoned at will. You show that your life continues whether she is present or not. This simple shift in behavior flips the dynamic and creates a natural pull. She begins to prioritize you without needing to be told, without manipulation, and without drama. Your absence becomes your presence. And in her mind, she starts realizing that you are not replaceable. Maintaining distance is not about punishment. It is about elevating your value and ensuring she respects the space you occupy in her life. The stronger you are in holding your boundaries, the more she fears losing the man she cannot control but deeply desires. When done correctly, distance transforms attraction from casual interest into urgent investment. making her see that she cannot take you for granted. Or 2. Be unpredictable. Being unpredictable is one of the most powerful ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you. When a man's behavior is entirely predictable, routine, or overly familiar, women often begin to take him for granted. Predictability creates comfort, and comfort without challenge breeds complacency. To spark her attention and emotional investment, you need to introduce elements of surprise and unpredictability in your actions, communication, and presence. This does not mean playing mind games or acting disingenuous. It means showing that you have a dynamic life, that your attention is valuable, and that you cannot be entirely anticipated or controlled. A woman begins to feel a subtle sense of tension when she cannot fully predict your next move. That tension creates excitement and triggers a natural fear of losing you, because she realizes that your world is not centered around her alone, and that she must be present to remain part of it. Unpredictability can appear in small ways: changing plans occasionally, pursuing spontaneous adventures, showing confidence in making decisions without asking for validation, or initiating moments of intimacy that feel fresh and unexpected. It can also show in communication, sometimes replying with measured delay, sometimes sending a message that makes her pause and reflect on your value. The key is that your life continues with purpose and intention regardless of her presence, which signals to her that you are independent and fully capable without her. Women are naturally drawn to men who have a sense of autonomy and mystery, because it challenges them emotionally and mentally. They begin to fear losing the man who is not entirely within their control, because they sense his rarity and irreplaceability. Unpredictability must be balanced with consistency in your core values, character, and intentions. She should know what you stand for, what you represent, and the level of respect you require, but she should never feel she can predict every response, every movement, or every decision you make. That dynamic elevates your status in her mind and triggers emotional urgency. When she sees that your attention is not guaranteed and that your life is full and exciting outside of her, she starts prioritizing her efforts to maintain your presence in her world. Unpredictability awakens desire, fosters appreciation, and strengthens the emotional bond because she begins to associate your presence with excitement, value, and the unique energy you bring. The more she feels that your attention is earned rather than assumed, the more she fears losing you and the more invested she becomes emotionally. This approach is natural, confident, and magnetic, creating a connection where she wants to be fully engaged and present. 3. Show value through actions. Showing value through actions is a critical strategy to trigger a woman's fear of losing you. Words alone do not inspire respect or desire, actions do. When a man consistently demonstrates his worth through behavior, she begins to recognize not only what she has in her life, but also what she stands to lose if she takes him for granted. Value is communicated through the way you carry yourself, the way you prioritize your goals, and the way you treat yourself and others. It is not about showing off or being boastful. It is about embodying qualities that are attractive and rare: confidence, discipline, independence, emotional strength, and integrity. A woman notices when a man lives with purpose. She notices when he invests in himself, when he is consistent in his actions, and when he does not compromise his standards for approval or attention. These behaviors automatically elevate your perceived value and make her realize that your presence is not a given. Men often make the mistake of over-explaining, over-giving, or over-committing in an effort to prove their worth, but these actions actually diminish perceived value because they signal neediness or dependency. The opposite is true when you show your value naturally. You prioritize your ambitions, maintain your boundaries, and act in alignment with your principles regardless of her presence or absence. She begins to see that you are a man of quality, someone who can walk away at any moment, and that realization sparks fear. That fear is not about manipulation. It is about creating recognition of scarcity. When your actions consistently reflect strength, independence, and high standards, she starts to invest emotionally to match the level of energy, attention, and commitment you demonstrate. She begins to fear losing access to someone reliable, confident, and capable, which naturally increases her desire to stay present and engaged. Simple examples include pursuing your goals unapologetically, maintaining friendships and a social life outside of her, handling challenges with composure, and showing consistency in how you treat yourself and others. These are small, everyday demonstrations of value that accumulate over time to create a magnetic effect. A woman notices when a man does not compromise his life for her approval, when he creates structure, stability, and momentum in his world. That presence of value triggers desire because she senses rarity and irreplaceability. She begins to fear that someone else could claim the man she has underestimated. Your actions become proof of your worth and the reason she cannot afford to take you lightly. When executed consistently, this principle elevates attraction and ensures that she prioritizes keeping you in her life. 4. Be confident and unshakable. Confidence is one of the most magnetic traits a man can possess, and being unshakable in your demeanor triggers a woman's fear of losing you more than anything else. Confidence communicates that you are secure in yourself, your value, and your life, which makes her realize that you are not dependent on her validation or approval. When a man is confident, he sets the tone in interactions and relationships. Women instinctively sense this energy, and it makes them feel drawn to him while simultaneously aware that he is not guaranteed. Being unshakable does not mean being arrogant or inflexible. It means you have control over your emotions, that you respond rather than react, and that you carry a calm certainty in the way you navigate your world. Women are attracted to men who are grounded, decisive, and self-assured because they signal stability, leadership, and protection. When you display unshakable confidence, a woman starts noticing your consistency in high-pressure situations, in social settings, and in personal goals. She begins to see that your attention is not given freely to anyone, and that you are selective with who receives your time, energy, and affection. That selectivity triggers fear, because she realizes that losing you is a real possibility if she does not match your energy or demonstrate commitment. Men often weaken this dynamic by over-explaining, apologizing unnecessarily, or showing insecurity in moments that test their authority or presence. Every time you question your value or act uncertain, you reduce the fear of loss because she sees you as malleable or available on demand. In contrast, when you maintain calm assurance and project competence in your life, she begins to respect the fact that you operate on your own terms. This self-possession naturally inspires fear of loss because she recognizes that she cannot demand your attention or emotional labor. It is earned through alignment with your value. Confidence also comes through body language, tone of voice, and the way you carry yourself in everyday situations. Standing tall, making eye contact, speaking deliberately, and acting with purpose all reinforce the idea that you are a man who cannot be easily replaced. Women notice these subtleties and feel an emotional pull to secure your presence. When you combine unshakable confidence with other elements like distance, unpredictability, and demonstrated value, her fear of losing you intensifies. It is not fear born from manipulation. It is fear born from awareness of your rarity and strength. Being confident and unshakable ensures that she prioritizes you because she senses the unique stability, leadership, and self-assuredness that you bring, creating a dynamic where she cannot afford to take you for granted. 5. Keep her guessing. Keeping a woman guessing is a subtle but powerful way to trigger her fear of losing you. When a man reveals every thought, emotion, or plan all at once, he removes the mystery that fuels attraction. Predictability kills tension and emotional engagement, while uncertainty keeps her invested, curious, and attentive. This does not mean being manipulative, lying, or playing cruel games. It means maintaining an element of mystery by being selective with what you share, how you behave, and when you show vulnerability. A woman notices when a man has depth, a life outside of her, and experiences that she does not immediately have access to. That depth creates curiosity, which naturally leads to fear of loss, because she realizes that she cannot fully possess or control you. Men often weaken attraction by over-explaining, responding to every question instantly, or giving all their time and energy without boundaries. When she can predict your behavior, she starts to take your presence for granted, and the emotional stakes decrease. Keeping her guessing creates subtle tension that heightens desire and emotional investment. Simple ways to do this include maintaining a balanced schedule that includes personal goals, hobbies, and social engagements, occasionally changing routines, initiating communication in ways that make her reflect on your availability, and selectively sharing your thoughts or feelings rather than overloading her with information. The goal is to create a sense that you are fully engaged in your own life, not waiting around for her reactions or approval. This dynamic forces her to pay attention, evaluate her actions, and consider how she might lose someone who is exciting, confident, and independent. When executed naturally, keeping her guessing makes her appreciate your presence more and fear the consequences of losing it. It is a subtle form of emotional leverage that strengthens attraction without drama or manipulation. Women are wired to value men who have control over themselves and their lives. And when you retain an element of unpredictability in your world, she feels compelled to invest emotionally to stay close. The more she notices that your attention is selective and earned, the stronger her fear of losing you becomes. This approach, combined with distance, confidence, and demonstrated value, ensures that she is not complacent. She begins to see that you are a man who cannot be replaced easily, which heightens her emotional engagement, deepens her desire, and solidifies your presence as someone she must prioritize in her life. Keeping her guessing is not about games. It is about protecting your value while naturally inspiring her to fear losing a man who is rare, confident, and fully in control of his world. 6. Show selective attention. Showing selective attention is one of the most effective ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you. When a man gives his time, energy, and focus indiscriminately, he becomes ordinary in her eyes. Women are naturally drawn to men who demonstrate that their attention is not guaranteed and that it must be earned. By being selective, you communicate value, boundaries, and self-respect. This does not mean ignoring her completely or being cold. It means prioritizing how, when, and why you give your attention. A woman begins to notice when you engage deeply in moments that matter, when your presence is meaningful, and when your availability is limited. This creates a sense of scarcity that naturally triggers emotional investment because she realizes your attention is a privilege, not a right. Many men fail at this because they respond to every message immediately, agree to every request, and offer unlimited time and energy. That approach lowers perceived value and eliminates the emotional urgency that keeps her engaged. By contrast, selective attention creates subtle tension and reinforces your importance in her life. It communicates that you have standards, goals, and priorities, and that she is fortunate when she earns your focus. Examples include responding thoughtfully rather than immediately, initiating plans occasionally rather than constantly, and maintaining your own life outside of her expectations. She begins to notice the difference between moments when you are fully present and moments when you are not, which heightens her awareness of your value. Over time, this selective engagement triggers fear because she realizes that losing access to your attention would mean losing the emotional connection, stability, and excitement you provide. The key is balance. You remain consistent in character and respectful in communication, but you never devalue your time or make her presence a given. Women are naturally wired to respond to value and scarcity, and when they perceive that your attention is selective, their desire intensifies. Selective attention also reinforces your independence, signaling that your life is full and not contingent upon her. She begins to prioritize her actions to ensure she remains aligned with your energy, creating a dynamic where her fear of losing you grows organically. This principle works because it respects both parties. You maintain your dignity, she gains awareness of your worth, and the emotional stakes in the connection naturally rise. A man who shows selective attention is a man who cannot be replaced easily, making her invest more to keep his presence in her life. 7. Raise standards. Raising your standards is one of the most powerful ways to trigger a woman's fear of losing you. When a man accepts behavior, attention, or commitment below his value, he signals that he is easily replaceable. Women notice when a man has boundaries, principles, and expectations that cannot be compromised. By setting and maintaining high standards, you communicate that you will not settle for less than you deserve, which creates a natural sense of urgency and respect. This does not mean being rigid, unreasonable, or controlling. It means knowing your worth, identifying what you will and will not tolerate, and consistently demonstrating that your time, energy, and emotional investment are precious. When a woman sees that you will not accept disrespect, laziness, or inconsistency, she begins to evaluate her own behavior and commitment. She becomes aware that losing you is a real possibility if she fails to meet your standards. Many men unknowingly lower their standards to avoid conflict, keep someone in their life, or out of fear of being alone. This approach diminishes perceived value, decreases attraction, and removes the urgency that triggers desire. By contrast, a man who raises standards cultivates scarcity and significance. He ensures that his attention is not easily obtained, that his presence is earned, and that he is recognized as someone who brings exceptional value into a relationship. Examples include insisting on mutual respect in communication, expecting consistency and effort, pursuing partners who align with your goals and values, and refusing to tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or emotional games. When a woman recognizes that she must match your energy, integrity, and investment to maintain the connection, her emotional engagement deepens and her fear of losing you intensifies. High standards communicate that your life is full, purposeful, and independent, making her aware that she cannot replace or control you. This principle strengthens attraction because it forces her to prioritize the relationship and her actions, ensuring that she does not take you for granted. Raising standards is not about arrogance. It is about self-respect, clarity, and creating a dynamic where a woman values, respects, and fears losing the man who stands firm in his worth. When combined with distance, unpredictability, selective attention, confidence, and demonstrated value, raising standards completes a framework that ensures she sees you as rare, irreplaceable, and essential in her life. The fear of losing you becomes natural, compelling her to invest fully, engage consistently, and respect the presence of a man who will not compromise his value. Triggering a woman's fear of losing you is not about manipulation or games. It is about establishing a presence, energy, and value that naturally commands attention and respect. When you maintain distance, remain unpredictable, show your value through actions, exude unshakable confidence, keep her guessing, show selective attention, and raise your standards, you create a dynamic where she realizes your worth and understands that your presence is not guaranteed. These strategies work because they reinforce scarcity, elevate your status, and communicate that you are a man with boundaries, purpose, and emotional strength. Women are naturally drawn to men who embody these qualities because they signal stability, independence, and rarity. A woman who fears losing you begins to invest emotionally, prioritize her actions, and engage more deeply because she recognizes the unique value you bring. This fear is not born from insecurity on your part. It is a reflection of the respect, attraction, and desire you have cultivated through your confidence and self-respect. Modern dating rewards men who understand their worth and act accordingly. By applying these principles, you protect your emotional energy, maintain your dignity, and create a connection where she sees you as someone irreplaceable. The right woman will respond to a man who values himself, commands respect, and lives with purpose. She will invest fully, engage consistently, and cherish the connection because she knows losing you is not an option she can take lightly. Implement these strategies and watch the dynamic shift. She will notice, she will care, and she will fear losing a man who refuses to compromise his value.